In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a fun little project. As I was strolling through Walmart, I came across this little shopping bag, and as I often do, when I see something that I think is of interest that would make for a good design on a shirt, I'll snap a quick pic. And use it for inspiration down the road. So I thought a real simple, easy little project for you here. If you're just starting out with CorelDRAW and just starting out with EasyStone, I thought we'd work through this project being how it is almost time for Valentine's. So what we're going to do here, of course, is we're going to set the size of our artwork to begin with. So we're going to select our bitmap, come over here to the Specialty tab and hit Set Size. And we're just going to pretend where this loop is. We're going to pretend it's right there, and then the right side edge, let's do that again. The right side edge is over here somewhere, and we're going to set that to be 9.25, I guess is what we'll use. We'll go ahead and lock our image, so we'll go here and hit lock image. That way we can't move our bitmap. Now for this design, we're going to be using 16s and 10s and 6s. So we're going to go to the stone tab here, set our stone color to crystal, and we're going to drop a 6 stone. We're going to drop a 10. We're going to drop a 16. And all I'm doing is right clicking on this to change the stone size and then clicking inside my document. So let me just go through that one more time. So we're going to right click to set our stone to SS6 and drop stone and drop an SS6. Then we're going to, you see this stone size here. We're going to right click SS10, drop a stone, right click SS16, drop a stone. You notice I don't have to go back to drop stone. Drop stone will stay active until we exit out of it. So hit the escape key to exit out of it. Then what we can do is we can begin to set some stones in place of where we want things to be. So I would take a 16 and say, okay, for love, I want there to be 16. For my E, I'm going to do there to there. And I'm probably going to do... Nope, I'm not going to do no 16s there. I am going to do some 16s here, there to there. Let's see here. I guess I'll use a 16 here to here, and from here to here. And where else am I going to go? I guess, well, for sure we'll put a 16 there, all the way up to there. And then on my swirl here, I don't know. We don't know where that is, right? So we're just going to magically place one there. Okay, so you kind of see what I've done. I've placed SS16s at the start and end points and also in our intersecting points. Those are critical points for us when we're doing our design work. Okay, so now that all of those are in place, then the next thing obviously would be our 10s. So we'll zoom in a little bit for that. So we're going to put a 10 right there. And 10s are going to go to here. And then we're going to put a 10 up here. And 10s are going to start here and come down to here. This will be 6s. This will be 10s. And actually this will be 10s up to here probably. And then 10s to here, 10s to here, 10s to here. And then of course we put a 10 next to our 16. 10 next to our 16. 10 next to our 16. And that takes care of that. And then, let's see here. This is going to be a 10 to, I don't know, right there. And then we'll put a 10 on this side. No, those are going to be 16s, I guess. So we're going to do 10 to right here. We're just kind of making it up as we go along. That's the best way to do it. Make it, fake it till you make it, right? So we'll put a 1 there, and you know, we don't know, this loop is coming around somewhere over there, so we won't worry too much about that. This is a 16, so we're going to bring a 10. It's going to go here. 10s are going to go here. Again, we kind of have this imaginary loop where our heart is overlapping. So we'll just guess where that is. And here we're going to have tens coming up to, say, this point here. And then we're going to pick up some tens all the way down to here. And then we'll pick up some tens here all the way up to here and maybe over here down to here. And you're like, huh? What's he talking about? Well, it all makes sense here in a moment. So then, obviously, then we have our sixes. So we'll go ahead and place a 6 there and a 6 here. And we want a 6 here. That takes care of those. And then we're going to have a 6 here to here to here. And oh, we're going to have some 10s up here too, don't we? So we'll start 10s there all the way to there. And then we're going to have our 6s. So we'll have our 6s right there and up here and right there. And then we will have our 10s up to here. Then we'll do a 6 and a 6. That's going to be 10s all the way down to here. And then 6s all the way down to connect to that one. So you can see it's a little bit of prep work. But, I'm doing this just for more demonstration purposes. I would probably kind of design as I go rather than set all these in place exactly how I think I would want them first. I probably wouldn't really do that. So I'd, create one line and then continue on and create the next one and so forth. But just to illustrate the point how we tackle certain designs, it's a quick, easy, logical approach, I think, to creating the design. And obviously we don't have any vector artwork we have to concern ourselves with creating or anything like that. Little strange that we're going from 6s straight to 16s here, but I think it's okay for this example to do that. So just, things to be thinking about. And let's see here, we're going to do 10. And we'll just hand place a couple of those right there. And then we're going to do 6s right here. And I probably would just hand place these few. Same thing. We're just moving it and then right clicking to place that stone. Let's see here. What's this? This is a 10. So let's back that off. And this loop will be 6s. Alright, so let's just kind of go in there. You kind of get the idea of how I've kind of set this up. So now all we have to really do is connect the dots. So we'll select two stones. Select one, hold your shift key, select the other. Shift add stones. And that will allow us, you can see it just has this path. Now the spacing isn't really what we want, but we won't worry about the spacing until the end. So we're going to do that same process of connecting the dots and creating our path all the way through. Okay, so shift add stones, double click on the line to create our path. We can click on the end node to get our control handles and really fine tune how we want this to look. So it's quite easy. Select a stone, hit delete stone paths to get rid of the path once we have our stones in place the way we want to. Shift add stones. around the bend there. Same thing here. Shift add stones. Fix that curve, get it like we want it, or as close to as we can get. Now this we'll have to kind of guess, because there is nothing there for us to kind of go by. So we get to be a little bit more creative in how we want it to look. And I think that looks pretty good just like that. Alright, so now we're at a point where we're pretty well ready for at least this one section to sort out the spacing for the whole section. So it's starting from the intersection, it's looping around back to that point right there. So what I would do is I would select my entire design, and we will delete stone paths. We will check for any overlapping stones, which there are none, and then we'll respace. So we'll grab our freehand pick tool, and we'll come in here and select all of those stones. Go to the editing tab and respace those all the way around. So now we have perfect spacing all the way around, just like we would want. Alright, and then we're going to do the next section basically the same exact way. So we're going to select this stone to this stone. We're going to double click to change the curve up just a little bit. Double click our curve. Whoops, I changed it a little bit too much. Double click our curve. I am going to grab my control handle because I want to specify exactly how that curve is supposed to be. I'm happy with that. Alright, so now we have our next section complete. Same thing. Select the entire section, delete our stone paths, check for spacing, and now we're going to respace this section. So grab all the stones in the section, go ahead, hit the editing tab and respace those. And in this case we didn't see a whole lot of change because those were pretty spot on, but now we can move on to the next section. So we'll just change that up a bit. That one we don't have to really do anything with because it's already spaced. It's just one little section. But this one here we'll have to respace at the end. So there's that first section. Second section here. And then what are we going to do here? We got to pick up a 6 here. Because we're going to go from 6 all the way back to 6. And we could change this up as we go, This is just my first idea for the design. So I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to back out here, grab that section, delete our stone paths, check for any spacing issues, which there aren't any. Freehand pick tool to pick up that section and respace that section. It did shift those stones just a little bit, but not too much. Now I do want to look at the spacing here. I did notice that earlier that I'm not really happy with the spacing. So what I'm going to do here is just make a couple of bigger stones and try to space those stones out a bit more. And you can see that spacing tightened up a little bit more. So now I'm happy with that, and we can move on to our next section here. So every time when you're respacing your sections, you do want to take a look at that stone spacing to see if you're happy with how it looks. So we'll come in here. This is just a system that I developed for me because I think it works pretty good. Um, and it doesn't really take a whole lot of CorelDRAW skills either, which is nice if you're not really that familiar with CorelDRAW. Now this section here, you can see the stone spacing is quite loose, so we just hit the plus minus and fill it in, that one section. So we can, if it's a little bit tight or a little bit too loose, we can just quickly add a stone by left click to add a stone, right click to delete a stone. So now we have this section complete, so let's go ahead, delete our stone paths for the section, check for overlapping stones. Let's go and run our respace function, just so we make sure those stones are perfectly spaced. Shift it just a little bit, and moving on. This is another section. Obviously, we're going to grab our control handles, and we can add a node to better control our curve if it's needed. Nothing wrong with adding nodes to set this curve up exactly as we need and intended. And then once we're happy with it, which I basically am, obviously our stone spacing has to get a bit more dense, so we hit plus a few times till visually it looks about like we want. And then same thing, we're going to go ahead and grab that section, delete any stone paths, which there aren't any, check for any overlapping stones, which there aren't any, and then we will respace this section just to make triply sure that the spacing is perfect, dead on. And so that takes care of that section. Now here, because there's just one stone, we can just hand copy that one stone. We did not put an SS6 on this side, so we'll put that in. And it looks like we didn't do it up here either. So we'll select those two. Shift add stones. Grab our section here. We will use our control handles again to better control how we want this to be. There we go, that looks good. And what do we got here? We've got a 10 and a 10. Okay, so let's just go ahead, and you see those are tight, but that's okay. That's why we respace things once we get to a certain point. So I'm going to select our O. We're going to delete our stone paths. We're going to check for any overlapping stones, and then we're going to respace. Now, I am going to just show you something here. When you go into wireframe mode here, you see when we respace, this path is not connected. I'm just going to double click on that path, add a node, and take that and connect it. It's a minor point here, but now, let's see here. I don't know if I connected it. Yes, should be connected now. There we go. So sometimes I'll do that. It just depends on the situation, really. But I just want to kind of point that out, that when you're respacing a perfect circle, the path is not perfectly circular, but you could see that the spacing is perfect there. All right, so let's move on. So same thing here. We just double click. Now you can see the spacing is pretty loose here, but that's okay because we're gonna fix it. And we're just going to hand place a couple. And let's go ahead and do just like we've been doing. We're going to delete our stone paths. We're going to check our spacing. And then we're going to go back in and select that section and respace. And now you can see those stones are nicely spaced. Then we'll intersect this stone. I always like to intersect a stone right in between two stones. And we'll select these two. And this will give us a bit of an opportunity to do something kind of fun. where we're going to double click to make our changes. But remember those control handles, we're going to come out this way. You can see this, we're going to come out, but we're also going to come in. So, and you know, we can add, we don't have to stick to the original artwork, you know, 100%. But the nice thing is when you're modifying the curves, the stones get modified with it. So that's just a little, so you can see it's coming out and then back in a little bit, and I think that looks kind of cool, you know, when we're doing it that way. All right, so let's just move on. It's going to come up. Now looking at this, I don't like the way this stone is, this path is interacting with the path above, so I am going to make a small change here. Just, you know, and this is just the designer in me, the perfectionist in me, just those small little changes. I can't help myself. So that's why it takes me a little longer to create than it probably should. And we'll add a few stones. Alright, so now we fixed that whole section, so let's do the same thing. We're going to select the whole thing. We're going to delete our stone paths, check for any spacing issues, and then we're going to select the section using our freehand pick tool here in CorelDRAW and respace that section, which it barely moved because we're doing a pretty good job spacing as we go along. So we'll make a couple of copies here, I think. We will add some stones here for this section. I am going to take control a little bit and modify my curve just a little bit. There we go. Oh, that's probably a little bit much. Let's bring it back in a little bit. There we go. And we'll tuck that in. Like I said, when I'm connecting stones, I like to connect in between two stones if I can. I just think it looks better, so that's what I do. And around the bend, we're going to put one there, and I'll make a change here. I'm going to delete this stone, and then we're going to do some 6s. Maybe I'll just hand place these because there's only a couple around the bend there. That looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and select our section here, delete our stone paths, check for any spacing issues. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of respace in two sections. We're going to respace from this intersection. And that will take care of the bottom respacing. And then we're going to space from the top. Okay, so just a small little change there. So let's go ahead and peel this away for a moment and take a look at our masterpiece. And obviously we've got a couple of extra stones there, so we'll get rid of those. And let's go ahead and add a weed box. And now you can see you know, it's a really pretty result. You know, I'm definitely quite happy with that. So we spent a little bit of work doing it. There is one area that you know, looking at this, I just don't care for. And because in every other area, we went from 16 to 10s, but right here. This is the only area, this connection is the only area that we didn't go from 16 to 10s. So I'm just going to come in here. Let's select a few stones here. Let's change those to 10s, and then we're going to have to drop out some others. So we'll just kind of drop out a couple here and there. You can see, and then we'll go ahead and respace them from that one section there. Now that looks pretty good, except for the fact that the spacing is kind of big between stones. So I think I could probably duplicate a couple of these big ones, and we'll try it again. There we go. So yeah, spacing looks a little bit better. I am happier now that those are going from 10s just like they did up here, and so on and so forth. So I'm definitely happier with our end result there. Go ahead and delete that. Oh, looks like we have some stone. Let's go ahead and with some defined paths that we need to get rid of. There we go. So let's go ahead and put that back on a weed box so we can see the design a little bit more clearly. And yes, we have a nice looking little design there. And yeah, we spent about 20 minutes doing it, but we didn't have to convert it to vector first. So, you know, we definitely saved some time there. And at the end of the day, we have a really good looking design. So the next thing I want to do here is we want to create this little heart. And of course, that's pretty straightforward to do. So let's go ahead and grab our basic heart shape here. And then what I'm going to kind of do here is just rotate this for a moment to get it so proportionally it's similar to the original artwork. I'm not overly concerned that it's similar to the same shape, although we certainly could. Let's just go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and make it more similar to the original shape. So let's take this point and drag it right there to that point. And then we're going to convert this to curves. And then we're going to grab our shape tool. And all I'm going to focus on is the top half of this design. So we'll go ahead and delete that node. And we'll delete this one. And bring this one in. And remember those control handles we talked about earlier. We can kind of fine tune all the way around. That looks pretty good. And then we'll get these control handles again. You see I got one right here. And I've got one right here. So between the two here, we can get it pretty darn close to what it was originally. And this will give me an opportunity to show off another cool tool. So we have our basic heart shape at the top, but we don't have a very nice looking one at the bottom. And I need this heart shape to be straight up and down to add stones to it. Well, I wouldn't have to have it that way, but it will. That's the way I'm going to do it. So what we want to do here is we want to go to the Specialty tab and choose Set Angle. And we're going to pick this node, and it'll set perfectly horizontal, which is what we wanted because we're going to delete the bottom half of this. So select those two nodes, go to your Editing tab and Bracket Nodes. And then we're going to copy the top and join it back together. So now we have this same basic shape that we had in our packaging. We have the same basic heart shape here. So now it's the right size, everything like that. We're going to go ahead and fill it with stones. So to do that, we're going to go to the Stone Fill tab, and our stones are set to SS10s. So we're going to hit Island Fill, and it'll kind of do most of the work for us. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select this. We're going to set our stone color to light cyan, and we're going to add stones. And you can see it did a reasonably good job. We're going to delete our stone paths and check our spacing. And then all we have to do is just kind of fill in the blanks a little bit here. And of course our respace tool will work wonders here. So that'll be quite useful as well. So I'm going to just set this line right here. So let's do that and respace. Delete our path. Then you can see this is kind of causing an issue. So we'll bump this out. And maybe we'll just delete that altogether. And we'll just bring this in. And let's slide that over. And let's respace stones going this direction. And it'll take a little bit to get all of this sorted, what's going to fit, what isn't. Some of these stones overlapping. And we're just going to kind of guess what we're going to do here. And I'm just kind of putting stones in loosely, deleting stones that I don't think we're going to have room for. And then once we kind of get it pretty close, then we can use the respace tool to get everything spaced out just perfect for us. So I'll show you how all this is going to work here momentarily. Alright, so I think we're pretty close. So let's go ahead and let's just focus on one piece of the puzzle at a time here. So we're going to go here and hit respace. And you can see it respaced those. And then let's go here all the way up maybe to here. So you can see it's respaced those pretty well. Respace those. So we're just filling in the gaps here. And the more you work with this, the easier it will become. And once we respace, remember, we can add a stone. If we want to squeeze in another stone, just hit the plus minus next to respace, and we can pop in another stone, which I often do. So we'll hit respace. If we want to see what another stone looks like in there, just hit plus, minus, you can take it away. And so you can see how that respace tool is working well to fill in these gaps that we had. Respace. And you get a good idea of what we go through to create, you know, a really great looking design. It takes a little bit of work, but with the proper tools, it takes less work. We can respace horizontally like we were doing, or we can respace more vertically like we're doing now. So usually you have to do a little of both. You kind of switch back and forth, respacing vertically and horizontally to get the exact result that you want. But if you step back, you can see how it's all kind of getting filled in just like you want. So we'll come in here. We could probably fit an extra stone in there. And we'll go space it this way. And we'll delete this one, and let's see here. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I tend to spend a fair bit of time getting things spaced just the way I envision. But I do like to keep in mind too the amount of time I spend on any given design. I don't want to take all day on something that shouldn't take all day. Alright. So I think that's pretty reasonable. I think that fixed it up pretty good. I think once it's on a shirt, you're probably not going to know the difference. Maybe we can get one more stone in there. Let's space that out. Especially when you put this behind a weed box, then it tends to look a little bit different on black than it does on white. So we'll have to kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to group this together. I'm going to bring it up here. And in the original design, the heart was behind, or excuse me, no, I guess it was on top. Our stones are on top of our heart. And that's what we're going to do here too, is we're going to put our heart, we're going to put on top. Let's just move it over here, get it positioned kind of at that same angle, and then we can position it however we want to on our actual design here. And then once we have that in place, then of course we can, I'm just going to nudge it just a little bit. We can delete any, tell you what, let's copy this just as it is, because I might want to use that love for something else without the heart. So rather than have to recreate all of this, we'll just make a copy. So you can see we're just coming in here and deleting the overlapping stones. We don't want to delete our heart. So that takes care of our stones. And then obviously this is a little bit too far away. So let's tuck that in. Remember, I always try to get it in between two stones there. Let's delete our weed box. And then we'll respace those. Using our freehand pick tool, we'll come in here, grab that little section, respace away. Now we'll have to add a couple of stones maybe to delete that stone, make that stone spacing a little bit tighter. And what it's doing now is it's checking all the stones in the entire design and see if they intersect. So it does take a little bit of calculating power. But there you go. There is the basic design. Now I'm going to add to this design a little bit, probably, anyhow, just for fun. So nice looking little design here, but I think it would really look nice with some little scattered stones. So I'm going to right click on SF16, right click on crystal, drop stone, and I'm just going to come in here and randomly drop some stones. Change size to 10s. Change size to 6s. You know, it's all up to you, the designer, what you think looks good. And I think that'll be, kind of a nice little, cute little design there. And, you can use it with those stones or without, either way. So that's the finished product. So I think it looks pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video and kind of get a feel for how we tackle a given design. And thanks for watching.